Hello, hello. I am Crystal Craven, and I sing, I songwrite, I lead worship, and I am passionate about sharing what God inspires. And this coming up right here is your weekly devotional. All right, well, we are getting real close in our devotional study through Luke to a time where Jesus is about to be betrayed and arrested. So right now we are in Luke 22, verses 31 through 34. And it says, "Simon, Simon, behold, Satan demanded to have you that he might sift you like wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned again, strengthen your brothers." Peter said to him, "Lord, I am ready to go with you both to prison and to death." Jesus said, "I tell you, Peter, the rooster will not crow this day until you deny me 3 times that you know me." Now, these words from Jesus to Peter are filled with both warning and hope. Satan's desire to sift us like wheat isn't a vague threat. That is a violent shaking meant to break us down, to separate us, and to just utterly destroy us. But right in the middle of that terrifying reality is the profoundly comforting words of Jesus. "I have prayed for you." Jesus knew Peter would fall, and he also knew Peter would rise again. He didn't pray that Peter would be spared from the test. He prayed that Peter's faith would not fail. That's the difference between a total collapse in condemnation versus a redemptive stumble in conviction. Peter, in all his boldness and pride, responded with that confidence, right? "Lord, I am ready to go with you both to prison and to death." But Jesus knew that while Peter had an emotional response in that moment, his flesh was just too strong to allow him to actually follow through with standing firm in the face of persecution for Jesus' sake. And before the rooster would crow, Peter would deny even knowing Jesus, not only once, but 3 times. We often believe that we're stronger than we are. And that's just pride, right? And pride tells us that we're going to stand firm. But Jesus sees the real condition of our hearts. Pride sets us up for a fall. But humility invites God's grace to uphold us. And yet, Jesus didn't disqualify Peter. Instead, he said, "When you have turned again, strengthen your brothers." What a gracious invitation to redemption and restoration and refinement. Faltering doesn't end our story. It becomes a foundation for future service if we allow God to work in us. Now, there's a key moment that we often overlook. In John 18, verses 15 through 17, Peter's at the gate, and John, who's labeled as the other disciple in this account, tries to help him. He speaks to the servant girl to let Peter in to get closer where he was at so he can see the trial that Jesus was on. And that way he would be near to Jesus. But Peter stood back. That servant girl then asks him, "You also are not one of these man's disciples, are you?" And the first denial is born. Peter had a chance to lean in and take that help in getting closer to Jesus, but he let his fear guide him. And instead of drawing near, he distanced himself, and that's when the denials began. God will often send people into our lives to walk with us, that sharpening, like the way it talks about in Proverbs, how iron sharpens iron, and to help hold us up. But our pride to do it all ourselves and our fear of being seen, it tends to push people away. We were never meant to do this alone either. Faith flourishes in fellowship. Iron sharpens iron, but only when it's willing to make contact. Peter was vulnerable when he was alone on the outskirts, and the same is true for us. The beauty of the church is that those who were once completely broken become the ones that God uses to help others heal. The cycle continues and grace flows, and Jesus still prays for us. He prays for our faith to hold and for our hearts to turn and for our hands to help others to do the same. So when we stumble, and we will, let us not be ashamed to return, to receive God's grace and forgiveness, and fulfill that calling that Jesus initially gave Peter. When you have turned again, strengthen the brethren. For blogs, written devotionals, and originally written songs, visit crystalcravenmusic.com, and that is Crystal with a K and Craven with a C.